This next feature in Excel has to do with 3D formula referencing. But don't worry, you don't need a pair of 3D glasses to make this work. Let's take a look at Excel and the situation that we're referring to. Now, before I go any further with explaining a 3D reference, there are a couple of disclaimers that I need to talk about. First off, this only works if the data that you are performing the functions on and the worksheets that you are using are all set up the same way. So let's take a look at the data that we have. I've got 4 divisions: north, south, east, and west. Each one of these worksheets is set up with the exact same setup, the same months and the same information in column A. If most of us were going to add this up, my guess is that we would select the 4 different worksheets and add up the cells individually. What I mean by that is I'll start my formula with an equals. I'll go into the north worksheet and select cell B2. Put a plus sign. Go to my south worksheet, select cell B2. Another plus sign. Go to my east worksheet, select cell B2. And finally, go to the last worksheet, which is the west, and again, select cell B2. That'll give me $39,000 in sales in the month of January across all 4 worksheets. Pretty simple. Most of us kind of learned how to add up or perform functions across multiple worksheets that way. But if those worksheets are all set up exactly the same, have the same type of data and same structure, we can use this 3D formula referencing. Let me show you how you do that. To begin, you start your formula with an equal sign, and you can perform functions such as sum, count, average, etc. I'm going to use sum, open my parentheses, and this is where you have to pay a little bit of attention. I'm going to select my first worksheet, which is the north worksheet. I'm now going to hold down the Shift key. I'm not selecting a specific cell. I'm going to hold down the Shift key on my keyboard and select the west. If you'll notice on the bottom, all of my worksheet tabs now have been selected. The next thing I want to tell it to do, though, is I want it to use cell B2. So I will select cell B2 and close my parentheses. The beauty of what we've just created is called a dynamic array. The formula looks a little different. It says north, west, and then B2. So that is a dynamic array. It knows that for every worksheet beginning with the north and all of the worksheets all the way through to the west, add up cell B2 and bring it over. Now, that by itself is pretty cool, but other things that can happen then with this dynamic array. Watch what happens if I remove the east worksheet from the set of the array. Let's double check the amount that's in the east first. Okay, the east is $7,000. So if I removed $7,000 from the $39,000, I should get $32,000, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down to the bottom of the worksheet. I'm going to select the east worksheet, and I'm just going to drag it and move it to the right of west. I'm going to return to my total, and you can see now that the $32,000 is there. Again, reviewing the formula, the array says go from the worksheet that starts with north and select every cell B2 until you get to the worksheet named west. So if you rearrange the worksheet orders and move something out or past the west worksheet, it will no longer be included. But then what happens if I move it back? Does that fix it? I'm going to drag the east worksheet back in before the west division. And now let's take a look at my total. It's returned to $39,000. So I can see this being helpful. I can also see it being super dangerous, right? The way it's helpful, you don't have to select every single worksheet cell that you want to add up. As long as those worksheets stay in the same sequence or within the same range, then you've got your formula already prepared. But the downside is that how many times have we all rearranged and moved around worksheets? Is that a safe assumption that somebody would move your worksheets around and mess up your dynamic array? So you can see the power in it. You can also see the huge risk and the possibilities there. So I love the 3D formula referencing. It makes things really simple to do, but you really have to know what you're doing in order not to accidentally change your formula.